Am I wrong? Are you going to be objective? I said I was going to be objective Jorby today, so.
I am I am going to be objective. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a reputation to uphold. Okay. I have a reputation to uphold. All right.
I hear you.
The thing is, Luminosity did really well, so but okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I feel you. Okay.
By the way, my chat had I did the chat thing, and they had G2, Genji, LG, SSG as their top 4.
Interesting. Okay.
So, you tell me who's biased.
Well, I mean, look, man, you cultivate your own chat, so don't tell me. They might be sucking up to you a little bit. All
right, you wanna kick us off?
Yeah, I'll kick us off. So I do want to start by saying that it's G2 and everybody else in this region. I could figure out my top 3. Past that, it's all up for grabs, in my opinion. I had a hard time ranking, especially in the middle. Like when you get down to like 5 through 10. 5 through 10 is a mess. So it makes it pretty hard to rank. There are some consistent threads, like POAB, consistent top 8. That's good. Luminosity, consistently at least making top 8, obviously getting to grants. That's good. Space Station, same deal. So there's some G2 dominating the entire region. That's great. There are some teams that are underperforming and then overperform. But that's why I'm going to start with number 10, TSM.
What?
TSM are my number 10.
Okay. Why?
Because who else is supposed to be there? I'm looking at the last 2 regionals, right? And TSM, while they didn't make it out of Swiss, in the number 10 spot, they are consistently losing. They lost to M80 both times in Swiss. They lost to Incorrect and POAB this time. And I might have had TSM, but it was hard to look at any of the other teams, Omelet or even Pirates, if you wanted to put them down there. I just didn't think that I didn't think that made sense. So I had TSM at number 10. This regional, they beat the likes of G Buffo and X Deleted. That's not good enough. You lose to Incorrect, you lose to POAB. TSM should honestly be beating those teams, or at least be taking. TSM take my 10 spot. I think this team got a little bit better, but the same matchups are still killing them, and they looked worse in those same matchups this time around. So, 10 in NA is like not good. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I'm not saying that this team is they're so much better than the field. I just don't think anyone else in the field I would pick. I wouldn't put Leftovers, Akron, Deleted XD. Omelet, I think, have the best argument. Maybe you can make an argument for Incorrect because they beat TSM in groups, but that's probably the only other team that I would consider putting at number 10 right now. So that's what I got.
Who would you have at 11?
11?
Or did you not think about it?
11?
Just curious.
I don't know, honestly, because it's so hard, man.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
Think about it this way. So here's the bottom 8 in the first qualifier, okay? Bottom 8 in the first qualifier: Snowmen, NRG, Young Whippersnappers, Deleted XD, TSM, Muffin Men, Plot Twist, OG. And then the bottom 8 this next time around, TSM are still in there, but this time there's Omelet, there's Incorrect, there's Leftovers, there's Akron, and G Buffo. The field is completely different, but TSM are still there. And the only team that made it out of Swiss that didn't make it into Swiss in the first qualifier was OG. So right. Who else is supposed to be there? I don't think it matters who you put in the 11th spot. Put any of those teams, in my opinion. I don't think that any of them have had that consistency.
Let me ask you this question, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Do you have Shopify Rebellion on your top 10?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I am very interested in your list.
Okay.
TSM has beaten Deleted XD.
Yeah.
Twice and G Buffo.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, who do you have at number 10?
Let me go look. I already forgot. NRG. NRG.
NRG?
NRG at 10.
NRG?
Yep. Their best thing that they've done so far is they've beat Luminosity. So I think that keeps them here.
Yeah, that's fair.
They did make it out of Swiss the first time. They beat POAB and Muffin Men in the first open qualifier. Those are some decent results. POAB's turned out to be quite consistent. And I think they're in the mix for top 10 or the bottom half here, 7, 8, 9, 10. But realistically, them going out and getting smoked in top 8 by LG, I thought maybe NRG was starting to turn things around. I was like, oh, they beat LG because we whooped them in qualifier 1. So LG beat NRG 3-0, right?
Yeah.
In qualifier 1.
Right.
Then in qualifier 2, we play NRG and Swiss again. We get 3-0'd. And I'm saying we because I'm on the team.
Yep. That's right.
So we get our asses beat. Okay, they whipped us. And then the next day, they wake up and just go back to getting whipped. So They get 4-0'd, and it was not pretty. So I don't. They're hovering around that 9-12 area, that top 8 area, somewhere in there. But I think they're good enough to stay in the top 10.
You know what? NRG would be my 11.
Okay.
I just feel like they've been
don't
so
have
forgettable performance-wise that I wasn't even considering them. So that's on me. But I still wouldn't have put them in my top 10. So
okay.
I still think.
But NRG I feel like has much better wins than TSM.
Well, they beat POAB and Muffin Men in the first qualifier. Then they beat G Buffo, LG, and Incorrect. So LG is the only good victory they have there. And then they looked absolute garbo in the quarterfinal.
A win against POAB and LG is much better than 2 wins against Team Deleted XD and Incorrect.
Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. I guess where I'm seeing TSM here is like I just see that team getting better. Like, and right now,
fine. No, that's a fine argument.
You know what I mean?
I'm okay with that.
Like, I don't want to put NRG. I think TSM definitely deserve the shout. Like, yeah, they've been struggling. They lost to Incorrect, which I think TSM should be beating Incorrect personally. And like losing 0-3 to POAB, that's like I said, I feel like TSM and POAB are kind of the same level. So you'd like to see them take a couple games there, but like with NRG, maybe I'm a little biased in my approach with NRG, but I just see TSM having more upside right now because I'm just not seeing it out of NRG.
Okay,
with TSM,
fine.
you watch them play and like you see the upside. You know what I mean?
That's fine. You just started off talking about the results, and I was like, that's why I was like, what?
No, I mean that's fair, but like even with results, like the only like I don't think NRG at 10 for you is bad. Let me clarify. Like the Luminosity win and getting top 8 and beating POAB, those are 2 results that absolutely matter because POAB have made top 8 both times. Right. And I mean, especially the way that they looked against G2 this time around, I think lends to their quality as a team. So like, I don't hate it. I just want to get that clear. But I think that their only result that you can really look at and be like, okay, is the Luminosity win. And that's it. So like, even results wise, I do think that, yeah, maybe it's a feels pick for me for TSM. But that's why it's power ranking.
That's fine. I have plenty of those. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. All right, let's hear your 9.
Okay, my 9. Yeah, I can't wait to see where Luminosity is. Let's see. My
number. That is not 9.
I was warning people at the beginning of my stream. I was like, don't worry, guys. Corelli's going to say he's going to be objective, but just you wait. So number 9, I have OG.
Okay.
You missed the first main event, and you shouldn't have with the people you have on your roster. I didn't really know how to rate this OG team. I just knew I liked all 3 players. I thought they looked better this time around. You know, but you lose to Genji, you lose to X Deleted, which is a bad loss. You 3-0 Akron, fine. You 3-0 Dignitas, I remember that. And you 3-0 Incorrect, fine. Those exactly the results that you would expect from a team like OG. But then, I'll be honest with you, man. I just was not convinced by this OG squad. I thought that quarterfinal between OG and M80 was not... I was not very convinced by OG in that series. There was a lot of mistakes. And especially against Luminosity, where all those mistakes started getting punished, and Luminosity's physical game were starting to force a lot more mistakes out of them. Like you made top 4 after not making main event last time. Great. But I think I have to see a lot more out of this OG team. They don't look as good as I thought they would be. And so maybe it's a feelsy fact for me putting them at 9. But I don't even think they would have been on my list after the first qualifier, or maybe they would have been at 10, is what I was thinking. Is like 10 or probably not on the list at all. But I definitely expected a lot more out of this OG team. And even their win against M80, I really wasn't that convinced by, because I didn't think M80 looked that good. And Luminosity, Luminosity dominated OG. Like, that was barely a series. So that's why OG's number 9 for me.
Okay, I have OG 9 as well.
Nice.
I kind of contradict myself because I think they technically moved down from my last ranking.
Okay,
but that's only because we've seen consistency from the teams above them, and I think when you factor in obviously what they did in the first qualifier, this is at least where they should be, if not higher. The problem is that the qualifier one was so bad that like I don't trust them, and they almost did it again. They had to reverse sweep the Swiss.
Yep.
They almost did it again.
Yep.
So I mean, and it's one thing to go be 0-1 against Gen G, but like they're good enough. They shouldn't be losing to Team Deleted XD. Luckily, they literally swept the rest of that tournament. I think they went 3-0 on if I have it here. Yeah, they went 3-0 against Akron, our CRL boys, and then 3-0 against Dignitas, and then 3-0 against Incorrect. So I mean, you know, not the strongest wins. Dignitas is a decent win, but it also was a pretty bad day for Dignitas. But OG then went and played at M80, and that's a good win. That's a good win from OG, in my opinion. Despite
it's a good win.
Bad, it's a good win.
Yeah.
M80 definitely a different team on the playoffs than in Swiss, but
That's for sure.
for me, I'm looking to move OG up, but I would like to see some consistency out of them, and they almost fucked that on the Swiss. So, but yeah, they should be, in my opinion, as we said in the previous NA Power Rankings, they should be comfortably contending for top 8. But we'll see. They did it here; they got top 4, but yeah, we'll see again. So I don't want to repeat everything you just said about them too. So
No, definitely. Well, who's your number 8? You get the one up on me here.
Number 8 is right where they keep finishing. POAB. I think it'd be wrong to put them any lower than that. Look, they're getting the job done, and I mean, say what you want about who they're playing and who they're beating. I think they're actually gatekeeping a lot of their peers.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider TSM, beating TSM, and then they've beaten TSM twice, and they beat OG in the first open qualifier, and they beat Young Whippersnappers, which is fine. And then beating Dignitas, maybe not the best day for Dignitas, but still beating Dignitas, especially coming off that hot qualifier one, I think was a really good win for POAB. And their only losses were to Gen G, SSG, and G2, which are teams comfortably above them.
And NRG. That was the last one, but yeah.
Well, NRG lost. Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry. That's who they lost to in qualifier 2. In qualifier 1, they also lost.
Oh, you're just talking qual 1. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, I'm not going to move them down for losing to Gen G, Space Station, and G2. You know, it's kind of the Space Station argument where it's like you really can't knock Space Station for only losing to G2 and Gen G so far, which most people have above them. So it's like you're losing to the teams you're supposed to for the most part. And you're consistently finishing top 8, no matter what fashion that may be. Consistency, I think, is important, and I think 8 is fine for them for the moment.
Also, that achieves buff. Come on now.
I know. I love I want to sing the praises of POAB. I want to see them get top 4.
I do too. I just need to get over that hump.
You know what? If POAB gets a big win, we're bringing Achieves on.
That's right. That's right. Achieves is good. Yeah, we have to do that. Absolutely. Oh man. Well, my number 8 is Shopify Rebellion. So.
Okay.
Rebellion looked so good in the first qualifier. Like, they had about as dangerous of a Swiss as you could have seen, but they took care of Dignitas 3-0. They lose to Gen G, whatever. I feel like they should be able to contend with Gen G. They only took a game. Then NRG took them to 5, but they still won that one. They lost to Space Station in a close game, and then they beat, who was this? This was the Snowmen. They beat Snowmen in 5, and then obviously they get top 4, but they beat M80. And I remember watching that series, and I remember just being overall impressed with how Rebellion played. Now, obviously, they didn't make the main event this time, and much has been made of that. We're not going to talk about that. But you're going to lose a lot of points for me. I definitely would have had Rebellion at like number 3 or 4 beginning, like if we did our power rankings before. So this is a big drop for them. I do not expect this team to miss main event again. There's just no way that they do. There's too much talent on this team, and I think that they know what's at stake this time around, so I don't think that anybody's not going to be taking it as seriously as they should. Not that I'm saying that anybody was, but I know a lot has been made of why things happened with Rebellion, and there's just no reason to go into all of that. Point is, number 8 is where they are for me. You don't make main event versus a lot of these other teams that have at least been making top 16 in both qualifiers. So we expect them to be back. I expect them to be back. That's why they're at number 8 for me.
I'll just follow that up by saying I have Shopify at 7.
Okay.
For all of the same reasons. For your reason with TSM, I'll take that and copy and paste that onto Shopify. I think they're going to be a good team. I don't know why.
It's two-piece Parth and Justin. Why would you not think that? Also, they had the results in the first qualifier. They had more than TSM do. So I think you got a little more to stand on there.
I think the composition of that team I really like. I think they're going to be good. I don't know what happened in the qualifier. We've seen it in other regions now. It's happening across the board. Unfortunately, it happened to Shopify. I've moved them down tremendously from where I had them before. So this is kind of me just kind of trying to trend back towards their true ranking, I suppose.
Yeah.
But they're definitely on fraud watch coming into the qualifier 3. And I agree with John. That was about what I was about to say too. Is I feel like Shopify has a much higher peak than OG in my opinion. So I feel more confident trusting Shopify than OG at the moment. And I think OG's fine. Like I said, I think OG's like I've been very consistent in saying OG is going to be contending for top 8 and going to be a top 8 team. But I do think that Shopify like you mentioned, that M80 series, I know I keep bringing it up as well, but I was really impressed with them. And if they can harness whatever they did in that series against all the good teams, then I think Shopify moves up pretty quickly. Also, they should just make the top 16. But
Yeah, no, definitely. And I watched them. I mean, I personally casted them playing against Dignitas, and that was the qualifier where Dignitas looked pretty good. And Rebellion were playing a level above that, and I was just so impressed with how they looked against Dig in Swiss, and then obviously in the playoffs they still played really well. So I definitely have to have them pretty highly rated for that. But my number 7 are my boys, my much maligned boys, Dignitas. Dignitas at number 7. You got top 4 in the first main event, and honestly had such a solid Swiss. Like the perfect Swiss that you could almost a perfect Swiss that you could ask for. You woke up late, 0-3 against Rebellion, but then after that, 3-0 OG, 3-0 TSM, 3-0 Luminosity. Then you absolutely slap POAB. POAB actually looked pretty decent in that series, and I think that's going to be a common thread that we're going to be saying come qualifier 3 as well. That POAB team is kind of scary. I like what you said about POAB being that floor, that gatekeeper, because I really agree with that point. They played Dignitas tight. And Dignitas obviously a step behind G2, just like everybody else was that day. But then this time around, now I got to watch Dignitas's open qualifier run. I got to cast all of their Swiss games. This was a completely different team. I probably would have had them at number 4 after the first qualifier. So I'm being kind, and I am being biased by having them at 7, because this just shouldn't have happened. We shouldn't have lost in 5 to Omelet. Now, I thought Omelet played a pretty good day. I thought they had a pretty good day overall. Better than really I think anyone could have expected of them, considering all of the off-field drama stuff that was going on, and how they were performing in the offseason and stuff. So Omelet, whatever. The 3-1 against Leftovers, that's a nothing win. But then you 0-3 against OG, who you swept last time, and they looked like poo in that series. There were decisions being made that I didn't understand. It looked like they had thrown in the towel. And it was the same deal against POAB. It just looked like there was like the cohesion that was there in qualifier 1 was gone. Nobody was on the same page. And I remember Turtle and I were just going off topic half the time because the players were we were just getting stomped, and it was not pretty. And like Dignitas might be off this list if they have a similar performance in qualifier 3. That can't happen again. They're still in a good position to like make the major, and I don't expect a team like Dignitas to fall out again. They got too much there's too much veteran on that team, and Evo does have that pop off, and so like I have to believe that that's still in there for Dig. But this is probably one of the least convincing teams I've seen trying to make the major right now after that second qualifier. So hopefully qualifier 3 is a little better for them, but that was about as poor of a Swiss as Dignitas could have had, considering how they finished last time.
I won't add too much. I have them at 6 for all the same reasons.
Nice.
I won't add too much. They had a really good qualifier 1, which really helped. So
yeah,
that I think again, I've moved them down a little bit here. I don't know. The more I look at it, I might want to swap them with Shopify, but I'll stick with what I wrote. But it was not good from them. And it's one thing to lose to POAB and OG, but Omelet was a tough team. Now Omelet played pretty well in that Swiss. I'll give them credit. I'll give credit to them. They looked quite good in that Swiss. But you got to be beating them. Dignitas should be crushing Omelet. They should be beating POAB. They should be beating OG. These are teams that they played in the offseason. They know who they are. There's some other things going on that we won't get into about Dignitas, but behind the scenes. But I don't know if that's affected them. But for me, it's very disappointing from Dignitas, because I was very high on Dignitas. I remember talking about them in our first discussion, or maybe when I did it by myself. And I was saying Dignitas to me are a team that's really starting to bubble up and look how good, like they're a team that's starting to beat their peers, and they're very consistent. And now they started crushing them near the end of the offseason as well. And Dignitas was a team when I did my first power rankings coming in after qualifier 1. I said that I was going to kind of count the offseason a little bit because of how good Dignitas was doing near the back half. So they're going to be okay. I think 6 is fine for them. And I think I'm looking qualifier 3 for a lot of these teams, especially in this 5 to 10 area. We're looking for consistency. POAB has done that at least. In fact, POAB might be the only team here that's been consistent.
Yeah.
And so
that's true.
We'll see if Dignitas and Shopify can do that.
Yeah. I definitely agree with how I felt about Dignitas, like in qualifier 1. It's like one thing that we see a lot as the counter to like the pre-jump defense that's been like pretty much the meta on defense for a while now is you're seeing those second man fakes happening a lot more on like first man passes to second man fakes, third man scores, because you know that someone's pre-jumping that pass on defense. So you're seeing those second man fakes come out a lot more. And that in particular was something Dignitas were using excellently in the first qualifier. There wasn't any of that, dude. There was no team play to speak of in qualifier 2. So like I don't want to harp on Dignitas too long. It's just they're the team I'm like I've been casting them, so I have like the most info, at least down to the ground, about how they've been performing. But it's just like if they can get back to that same cohesion and playing that meta, like I feel like they'll be just fine. But they really need to get back on the same page. That's the biggest thing for them. So my number 6 is POAB.
Wow.
I put POAB number 6, and I reward them for consistency because all of the teams below them are not consistent. The only one is TSM, obviously, who have made both top 16s, but haven't gotten into top 8. So, and TSM, they're still in prove it mode for me. So that's why they're at 10, right? OG, you missed main event the first time around. Okay. That matters for these power rankings. Rebellion, you missed it this time around. That matters. Dignitas at least made it to the top 16 both times. They have to be above those teams for my mark. But POAB have made top 8 both times. Dignitas have not done that. POAB have. And did you see how POAB looked against G2? All right. They didn't get a lot of offense, okay? I know. But that defense was so good. Like, their form on defense, those guys were clicking. And I am so high on this team. And it's not just because of Chiefs as the coach, okay? Yes, that helps. But my God, these players are fun to watch. And, like, they were able to counter G2. I mean, like, it's not as if G2 were the only ones scoring. Like, there was one of those OTs where POAB had to come back and tie the game against them. That went to overtime that they eventually ended up losing. But I still love the upside of this team so much. Like, 5 up. Andy and Eris, like this team is clicking really well, and the only reason they didn't get top 4 is because they ran in the G2. I think if they played the way that they did against G2 against any other team in the top 8 this qualifier, they would have been in the top 4. I really believe that with this POAB team. I think that they are next up. They are that team that North America wants to see to like be there. We haven't had like a queso, like Rise, Joyo, Vatira, like EU had them come up. We haven't really had that in NA in a long time. I feel like POAB have that feeling more than any other team. Maybe TSM are the other argument there, but I don't know. I feel like POAB are that team for me. So yeah, they get number 6 because they are more consistent than the other 4 teams I have below them.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I agree with all that, but I do. Because the problem is, I'll tell you why.
All right.
I'll tell you why. My issue is that, sure, there was some good in the G2 series, but they only scored in 1 out of the 4 games.
Yeah, that's fair.
Out,
that's fair. Like I said, excellent defense, but yeah, G2 are G2 for sure.
Yeah, and
Gen G didn't have any offense against G2 either. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, Pirates on the Boat also are getting crushed by, again, not that this is a bad thing, because most people are, but they got crushed by Gen G as well. They maybe even got crushed harder by Gen G than they did G2. In their first round this last time. So I don't know. I definitely don't get the feeling of the queso, but I do get that there is consistency in Pirates on a Boat.
But like that's exactly what happened with queso is like they had these types of results with that team before eventually they just started winning everything. Like it's not as if queso just weren't a team and came out of nowhere and started winning. Like they had very mid results right up until the pop-off happened. That's why I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it with POAB. It might not happen this split, but it might happen next split. I'm just saying, dude.
Jorby, that would be the call of a lifetime. I'm not going to lie to you.
Hey, that's my one feels pick of this list, all right? That's my one feels pick.
All right. I don't agree, but
that's fair.
Listen, I know if they did that, and he's not this guy, but Achieves, if he saw this, would then call me and just tell me about how much of an idiot I am. And Achieves is not that guy.
Now he definitely is.
I will say this.
He's like, Jorby knows ball, bro.
I listen, Pirates on a Boat, they're fine. They've been consistent. They've been pretty much beating their peers for the most part. Like, you have wins against OG, TSM, young whippersnappers from Qual 1, and then you have wins against XD, Dig, and TSM again. Good, decent wins against their peers for the most part. I think that win over OG, is you can make it what you want. I think OG is probably a top 8 team, so they had a bad day, but that's thanks to POAB and their play in Qualifier 1. But I don't. Nothing in their play screams queso and like we're going to be world beaters and we're going to make major and stuff like that. Well, right now I look at POAB and I say very consistent. I think they have a smart coach, of course. I think that they get smothered by some of the top teams and take advantage of some of their own mistakes. So yeah, I love it. I love it, Jorby. You're the man on that one. I'd love to see it. We'll see. All
right, who's your 5?
5 is M80 for me.
Is it? Interesting. Yes.
Okay. M80 is 5.
Okay. Interesting.
Good win against G2 or Gen G rather.
Yeah.
And then M80 has 2 wins over Gen G. They've done well against Gen G.
Yes.
I don't like that this team keeps losing in playoffs. They're better than that, but they're not doing it. They lost to Shopify the first time, and then they lost to Space Station this time. I think M80.
I mean, he lost to OG. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. OG.
Yeah.
For me, M80. Well, that's one that I feel like they shouldn't lose. I don't think they should have lost to M80. To OG. That's a series I feel like they should be winning. But I don't know what's happening. If Swiss, they're in a different state of mind or something. But they're a team that I think top 4, maybe even like top 3 at the beginning of the season in my mind. And they have not lived up to that so far. And I'm not trying to criticize them too hard because they're sitting at 5 on my ranking, and I think they're fine. But you gotta. I feel like the expectation. I said this last time when I did it. The expectation is not meeting the reality right now, and you should be able to beat at least OG in a quarterfinal matchup. But people making fun of Jorius for not getting out of Swiss
it's
not getting
crazy how real that is
into playoffs. They can't get through the playoffs. So
I can't believe how real that is.
But listen, the 2 wins over Gen G is fantastic.
Sure.
But if you can't do it when it really matters, which is when you only have one life, I lose some confidence in you. So.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I thought the OG loss was a bad loss. They did not look good.
That's twice now. Where I said the same thing when they played Shopify in the quarterfinals. I said, Game 1. I said this on my own stream when we were watch partying, and I was like, this series is over. M80's all over them. They look fantastic. This is over.
Yep. I'm watching Jorius get massive 50s. They're putting the ball top corner, and I'm like, uh-oh.
And then game 2 rolls around, and Shopify just crushed them from then on out. I think Shopify dropped one more game, but crushed them from there on out. Shopify looked really freaking good in that series, and I'm scratching my head going, I thought this team was going to be comfortably top 4, and they're not. And now you follow up that performance with a similar type of feeling against OG, where it's like, this is a team they should probably beat. And they don't. And so I don't know. I look, 5's a good ranking for them. I mean, 5's comfortable. You're in striking distance and you're a well-ranked team. But for me, the expectation on M80, the only reason that there's not more of a conversation at a 5, 6, 7 is because the teams below them, Dig suffered, Shopify suffered, POAB's ever consistent, but I think for me, there's a lot of question marks about how good they really are against some of the top teams. OG suffered in the qualifier 1, and NRG's kind of been a toss-up. Not making it out of Swiss and then making it out of Swiss, but then dying in the playoffs this time. So, they're really, I think, taking advantage of some of the teams not really being super consistent below them. And that's why I have them very comfortably in 5 right now.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's why I also have M80 at 5.
Okay.
This is the team that I probably would have rated preseason top 3 just based on how NAS looked this offseason. And I mean, AJ and Jorius, those are still individually extreme quality players, but they gotta beat this playoff curse. Jorius needs to. He tweeted about it. It's bad when you're aware, when you know that you're a Swiss merchant and you don't win in the playoffs. That's worse because it's in your head now in every quarterfinal. So I just don't know if he's gonna be able to overcome it. But the first quarterfinal, Jorius finally wins out of a Swiss bracket. That's a dangerous spot to be, and I fully expect if M80 do get over that and they get a top 4. I really think that this team can peak. I just need to see it peak. And I'm always saying that about teams with AJ and Jorius on it. I feel like those 2 players, every single team that they've been on, I'm thinking, this guy is on a team that can dominate. And then they don't. And they do at times. They do in sections of the tournament that are less important. But then when it comes time, when it gets to best of 7 time, and it's time for you to really show your chops, you get trounced. Why are you getting trounced? AJ and Jorius should not be getting trounced. And NAS has looked pretty good. I think NAS has looked great on M80. But as a team, it's just not working right now. They just disappear. It's like, how do you translate that Swiss mentality to the playoffs? Like, what is going on there? This is a mental block. Like, because the team has the ability. There's no question about it, which is, again, why, they're top of the top 8 for the both of us. It's just like, boys got to put it together somehow. Like, you guys were supposed to help North America be a little better. And it's not looking any better. But yeah, that's M80 for me. Number 4, Corelli. I gotta put your boys, all right? Your boys get the number 4 slot, all right?
That's right.
Even though Dignitas 3-0'd them and you still haven't done anything to Dignitas, all right? You guys get, you at least made the grand final and you lost to the team that won the entire thing the first time around. So Luminosity have to be number 4. There simply is no question about it. I can see a possibility for putting them number 3. But for my mark, I think that Luminosity have shown that at the very least, they are a major contending team near the bottom of that. Like, at the very, very least. I do think there's still a gap. And G2 show that gap every single time. But Luminosity against NRG, I don't think NRG looked very good. I don't think OG looked good. And I don't think Luminosity beat those two teams playing well. And so I don't rate them very highly. So a lot of these teams get moved down because I think all these other teams are playing so poorly that, Luminosity in the G2 series and the grand finals, I mean, it honestly almost looked as bad as it did in the quarterfinals and Qual 1. So, congrats to Luminosity. You beat the teams that were in front of you, and their Swiss this time around was, it's a little scary when you look. You got the 3-0 against Incorrect. You lose 2-3 to Space Station. You lose 0-3 to NRG. And I heard that Cheese was maybe having internet problems during that series, which would make total sense as to why that happened. And the Leftovers and Omelet wins, those aren't impressive wins for a team like Luminosity. Those are expected wins. And going back the whole way to the first regional, or the first qualifier, you lose to G2 in 5 in Swiss. You lose to Dig 3. That wasn't a game. And NRG, Muffin Men, Plot Twist. Those are all teams that I see that Luminosity are expected to beat. So Luminosity playing all the games in front of them. They win the games they're supposed to win. They lose games that I sometimes don't expect them to win. But none of the other teams are doing anything convincing for me. I thought about having M80 above Luminosity. But I've just been so disappointed with them in the playoffs that I had to take Luminosity's playoff performance into account. I wanted to put Luminosity 5. I really did. All right. But I'm glad you didn't. I didn't think it would be an objective list if I did, Corelli. Okay. And the most objective list has to reward the teams that go the deepest a little bit more than the teams that just peter out against the competition. And so Luminosity get that 4 spot for now.
Okay. That's enough.
Yeah, I'm done.
Here's the thing. My number 4 in North America,
Here we go.
reluctantly, is also Luminosity.
Oh,
and let me tell you why.
Really?
Let me tell you why.
I swore you were going SSG here.
Here's my issue. Here's my issue, Jorby.
Oh, let me hear it. I'm ready. I'm ready.
And I'm on the team. We are not beating the top teams. We had Space Station in our hands. We were better. And we couldn't finish the job. For once, LG had an opportunity to just beat a top team, to get someone at the top. And we let it slip out of our hands. Because realistically, Luminosity was playing bums. Okay? We were beating up on the milkmen. Okay? We walked outside and said hello to the mailman, all right, and went back inside.
And he didn't have any mail.
We beat up on no one. That's the problem. That's my issue. Realistically, I wouldn't blame people if they had LG at 5. The problem is, when we play the top dog, when we play someone like Space Station, who we've consistently ranked 3rd, and we were looking better than them, and we could beat them, please, for once, just beat a top 3 team. We were there. And the problem is, too, these are LG's losses. Are you ready? It was G2, Dignitas.
Yep.
G2, Space Station, NRG, G2 again. We've lost, and it's we, because I'm on the team, 6 times. And 3 of them our G2. Can we play someone else? And that's why when we got Space Station, I'm saying we, teammates, look at the Twitter profile. Okay, look at my name and tell me what logo is next to my name when I tweet. Okay?
He's also got the logo on his Twitter. That's
team,
crazy.
Bro. I'm on the team.
Bro's
we had
actually
our
on the team.
opportunity. We had our opportunity, and we let him off the hook, man. We should have beat Space Station. If we beat Space Station, I'm putting him above. Top 3, easy, no question. I will go to war. I will go to war.
Hey, man, I really wanted you to be biased this time. I'm not gonna lie. I'm low key disappointed in you, Corelli. This was your chance. This was your chance to be like, I don't care. We lost the Space Station. We lost to the tournament winner both times.
The problem is we beat teams that we easily beat.
Yeah, like, I know.
NRG.
But that was supposed to be my argument.
Every time, except for Swiss that one time. Okay, beating incorrect doesn't make you top 2. Beating leftovers doesn't make you top 3.
That's
beating
facts.
Omelet doesn't make you top 3.
That's facts.
Beating NRG 4-0 doesn't make you top 3.
Wait.
Beating OG doesn't make you top 3.
Wait.
We had the opportunity. We could have beat Space Station.
Wait.
We could have been him.
Wait.
We could have been them. And we didn't do it. We were so close. We were so close. And then we played G2 so close as well. Not in the grand final, but in the previous open qualifier. We could have beat them. We could have beat them as well, and we didn't. Luminosity could be great. Luminosity could be great, and we are. But we got to beat the big boys. You got to beat the big boys. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And we have to beat the best.
You know, that was Jorby rant worthy, Corelli. I applaud you. I applaud you 100%. Great job. Great job out there. And you know, I really agree with you. You took all the points out of my mouth because I thought you were going to be biased today. I was going to rinse you for putting them above SSG, but you didn't because you're a smart guy and you can't help but be objective. I get it. It's in your blood, Corelli.
I don't want to like it. I don't like it. I want to put LG number 1, and I want to say fuck you to every single other person in North America, and I can't. And we've had the opportunity. We could have beat G2, and we could have beat Space Station.
You know what? I will say this, though. I know all the talk was about Cheese because Cheese was scoring all the goals, and he was topping like a lot of statistics and stuff, but I was really impressed with Magic Bear. I thought Magic Bear was really consistent, where I feel like Magic Bear disappears at times, but like he was doing all the dirty work for Luminosity. He was setting up Cheese for success. He was buying Luminosity time to retreat, and like he was kind of like the mechanical anchor of the team. And I just remember because I was saying this like during my watch party during the semifinal and even part of the G2 series where I'm like, Magic Bear is doing so much for this team right now. Like his consistency kept them like dominant against OG and like kept them in play at times against G2. I mean, G2 are just levels above. We all know that. And we'll talk a little bit more about them in a second. But yeah, I mean, like there's a lot to like about this Luminosity team. And those Space Station losses, I don't know why those are happening. I'll be honest with you. I do think those two teams are kind of like, if Luminosity had a series against them, then I think you'd really do have that argument for number 3, right? Just one. Even if they split.
Just one.
Yeah.
You just need one.
But they don't. That's why SSG is my number 3, Corelli.
That's the thing. That's the thing, though. Just one more thing.
Yeah.
Is LG is good enough. They have shown it in their gameplay against some of these teams. They have shown it in the gameplay. And you talked about Magic Bear. I really think, especially in the playoffs, it was Cheese, man. Cheese.
He's so good.
I don't know.
I mean, I wasn't trying to discredit Cheese at all. I just didn't feel like anyone was talking about Magic Bear.
No, I'm just Magic Bear's been great too. Like they've all been great at some point. But I feel like Cheese was maybe sometimes a little shaky in our first open qualifier. Could have been the nerves. Could have been who we're playing. Whatever. You're playing G2, right? But he looked amazing, man, in open qualifier 2. Amazing. Probably the best I think I've ever seen him look for a guy who qualified for every single regional last season.
Agreed.
He looked amazing, and so if you get that performance out of Cheese, like you're good. Like that's Spaceman and I always talk about Magic Bear kind of being that X factor, but I think we really showed that you have a big X factor in Cheese when he shows up, man. He's playing with the sun in his eyes. Okay. He is. You look at his face cam, he's got the sun.
I know, dude. He's so giddy. I love it, dude. I love Cheese so much, man. Like I've been watching Cheese for a little while now, and I was so excited when Luminosity picked him up, and I was like, this is finally Cheese is getting his real shot now. Like he was always one of those mechanical kids, the rank 2 warriors in NA, and it's like someone's just got to give my boy a chance and let him grind for a little bit. And Reddles, Magic Bear were willing to give him that chance, and he's making the most of it, man. Like everybody was talking about Cheese this weekend, and he deserved it. He deserved every bit of that. I just wanted to make sure Magic Bear was getting some of the shine because, like, as good as Cheese was, he doesn't get half of those goals without Magic Bear. And like I have been really critical of Magic Bear over the last few seasons because I do feel like he's just disappeared and not been a value creator for his team like he's supposed to be. But like the last 2 qualifiers now, like this season, Magic Bear has looked really, really good. And I haven't said Reddle's name at all because Reddle's to me is kind of performing on par. He looks good. I think that like Luminosity have a certain style that they cling to, but it does rely on Magic Bear kind of being the beast mode of this team, kind of in like, and stalling things and giving your boy like beast mode gives Daniel chances to be Daniel, right? Just like Magic Bear gives Cheese chances to be Cheese. To me, that's how I see those 2 players. Like I kind of see them as analogs to each other in how they perform in their respective teams. But I was like, that's why I was mentioning him. It's not that I was trying to say Cheese doesn't deserve his honors at all. I'm not saying that.
No, I know.
But my number 3, SSG. SSG kind of like at the top of the, I'll say, very wobbly Jenga tower that is North America. Because Space Station are beating all the teams they're supposed to beat. And they're losing to the expected teams that you would expect them to lose to, right? In Qualifier 1, they beat POAB handily, Young Whippersnappers handily. They lose to G2 in 4, okay. And they beat Rebellion in 5. In Qualifier 1, that was a great result. And then you go and you play against Gen G, who have established themselves as the clear number 2 in North America, and you get trounced 4-1. And Gen G kind of cleaned them up pretty easily in that quarterfinal. Then you go into the second qualifier, you beat Akron 3-2, which was the best Akron looked that day. No doubt after that 3-2 Akron, I think the win got taken out of their sails. But then they played you guys close again, and they beat you again. They lose to G2 in 4 again. POAB played them closer this time, but they still beat POAB. So they're still beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. Then they run into Gen G again, and they lose again. Now they take another game, and I thought they looked a little bit better this time around. But it's really hard to put Space Station lower than any team not named Gen G or G2 because they run into Gen G 2 times in quarterfinals, and I'd give Space Station a shot against any team not named G2 on that list. I'm probably picking Space Station. I don't think that they've had a matchup that tells me that they're lower than number 3. They've won every single game they're supposed to win, regardless of how close it might have been. What matters is the result in the end. Is you overcome that adversity, you get the W. Better teams win. Space Station are the better team. I don't think there's that much to say about this team. They haven't had like any kind of dramatic results. It's just been a consistent, we've won the games we're supposed to win, and we lose to G2 and Gen G, like the rest of the region. So like that puts you at number 3. And them and Luminosity, I really think, like you were saying, like if they split, there's a real argument for Luminosity being number 3. But that's why I have them. And I'm assuming our top 2 are the same.
I have Akron Zips at 2.
Okay, yeah. Nice. Let's go, Tristan. Making it back. Huge.
Yeah. It's all the same, I think, from there.
Do you actually have Akron, or you mean
no, no.
Okay. All right. I have to ask to make sure. You never know.
I feel like, not talking about G2, but especially Space Station and Gen G. I lied. Sorry. Just to add to what you're saying, I mean, Gen G, it's fine. They beat Space Station in the quarterfinals. That's fine. They keep losing to M80 for whatever reason, and that's really what's holding. I think keeping M80, in the mix. I think if M80 is playing nobody's, then, I think people lose even more confidence from them. But I think that at least the top 3 teams, I know G2 is kind of in their own stratosphere, but I think are just benefiting off of inconsistencies from the teams below them. Mostly talking about Space Station and Gen G because I think G2 are really them. But you can't say much about Space Station, as you said. They only lose to G2 and Gen G, and then Gen G is basically just losing to M80 or G2, right? So if I have that correct, so it's like, they're doing well. So we're gonna reward them that way. There's no question that G2 is the best team. It's back-to-back wins. So
yeah.
I have nothing to say about G2 other than they're the best team, obviously, in North America. There's no debate about that. There's no discussion about that. I will not be hearing any discussion about that because you can't have a discussion about that because they haven't lost a single series. So I think G2 comfortably number 1. I would say if I had to group things together, G2 in their kind of own world right now, and then like Gen G, SSG in their own world, I think then, it kind of starts to get LG, M80, they're there, and then Dignitas, Shopify, POAB, OG, NRG kind of in their own little box as well. Like there's definitely some tiers going on here, but I would like to see Gen G. I would love to see Luminosity go up against more than just G2 in a lot of these matchups. I wish we got Luminosity and Gen G a little bit more. See what they can do against each other.
Same. That's the big thing. Is someone in my chat asking why Gen G over LG? I mean, like Gen G haven't done anything to like warrant them being rated below number 2. I mean, that's just like how the results have gone. Like Luminosity, you know, they've played every team in front of them. We've talked about that as well. And I just don't think like you've seen it from, if we're going to rate SSG above Luminosity, and I think that's fair based on the results that we've seen, and then you see that Gen G are beating SSG in each quarterfinal. We don't have direct results with Gen G and Luminosity, and it's hard to rate Luminosity any higher than 4th. So like having Luminosity any higher than 4th, I think is wishful thinking, because they don't have the results against SSG. They don't have the results even individually to match with Gen G. So it's hard to say that LG deserves to be a little bit higher. Just addressing somebody in my chat asking me to explain why Gen G over Luminosity. I don't think Gen G have done anything to lose that number 2 spot. Certainly nothing to gain the number 1 spot, and I don't think G2 are going to lose that number 1 spot. The biggest thing I wanted to see from G2 was just repeat the same performance. And the thing is I don't even think G2 looked as good as they did in Qualifier 2 like they did in Qualifier 1. I thought their playoffs were messy. They weren't playing perfect Rocket League like I felt like they almost were in Qualifier 1, where especially in the Luminosity series early on, like there was some, like Atomic was making some weird decisions. Like he conceded 2 goals on 2 unforced errors that made like no sense. Like he double committed on a play, and then there was another play where it wasn't a double commit, but he just wasn't in the play. Like he was reading something completely different, and they still made Luminosity look small, like despite the errors. So I don't even think that was peak G2 in Qual 2, but they're still clear above the rest of the competition. And yeah, as far as how that goes for them later on, it's hard to say, but this is G2's region, and we're living in it right now. T-Bait's got to be loving his life.
Oh, there's no debate. G2's the best team in North America.
For sure.
It's not close.
Yeah.
It's not close. I agree. I don't disagree with what you said about G2. And you know, there were some big mistakes out of G2, especially when they played Luminosity. Luminosity got a lot of weird cheap goals against G2 for G2 kind of doing some weird overcommit kind of stuff. But LG kind of does that to teams. LG's just, every series from LG is pretty messy, or they just win hard. That's pretty much.
That's what I loved.
That's how LG operates.
That's what I loved about them against like OG. Like there were 3 goals in particular that I remember where LG's physicality forced, it was Calm. Calm was being picked on, man. Like there were literally 3 goals where he got harassed on the back line. Magic Bear wins a 50, and somebody, whether it's Magic Bear following it up or somebody else, is forcing Calm to jump for a ball earlier than he wants to. So he's actually not taking the optimal angle on the challenge, and he's getting scored on because of that physicality. Like LG make games messy for teams, and I think that's their one, like the one key to success that they have is if they can make every series that they're in messy and they can make good teams look bad, then like it's just about doing that consistently. And I think that's hard because G2 showed you, like, you just have to avoid those bumps and demos. And if you could consistently do that and still be in position, like there was one where like they tried to demo Daniel, and instead Daniel was also going supersonic. He demoed him. He got pushed back onto the corner, recovered as the ball was getting cleared right back into him, and he hits a perfect pass out to beast mode, right in front of the box. Like, I'm sorry. Just nobody else in NA are doing anything like this. Like you can't beat that when Daniel's on like that, man. Like, no one else has showed the chops.
Yeah, I think G2 did a really good job of showing how to beat a physical team, though, against LG, because I said this before when we got into this, but LG had, like, no boost ever against G2. You look at, like, the boost totals for LG in that grand final, and there was, like, no boost. They were on 0 boost, like, a lot, and all 3 of them were on 0 boost a lot. And so you can't get the demo game going, right, if you're not even getting your own pads. So it's tough to disrupt the team when they're disrupting the thing that allows you to do so, right? You can't chase people when you don't have boost, you know.
Yeah.
So I think G2 does a good job of just smothering a team like LG, and that's typically what G2's done against most teams in their Swiss stage. So I think NA needs to put up a bigger fight against G2. Someone's got to figure it out. Someone's got to figure it out against G2. But yeah, we'll see. Last qualifier, a lot of chips on the table for, I think, are, you know, basically really everyone, honestly, besides G2. I mean, you look, I was going to say maybe the 4 through 8 or something, but I mean, even Gen G SSG, it's going to be competitive, man. I mean,
yeah,
we just had a regional where, like, you know, even a Shopify Rebellion wasn't even a part of it. So we'll see what they do. And
yeah, I'm excited to see what happens, especially if Space Station